stay with us. I just want to go across to Mr. O.P. Singh, the DG of the NDRF, who's joining us live tonight from here in Delhi. Mr. Singh, the NDRF is of course a key part of the effort that is underway to pull people out. What is the latest, sir? What can you tell us?
Ever since we got this information, we immediately dispatched our team to the accident site. Right now we have 6 teams working there with almost 270 people were working with their specialized equipment. So far we have extricated 3 dead bodies. We are in search of the trapped victims. In fact, the difficulty is how to clear the rubble first, and then after the search can begin. But we are carrying all those equipment which can come before us very handy. For example, the victim locating cameras can be, and they are being used also. The sniffer dogs are there, and we would like to search each and every part of the accident site where the people could be suspected to be trapped inside. So it will take some time. Our night operation would be on. We'll keep working till the night, and we'll see how best we can and how early we can pull out the people live.
So as you said, of course it's a very difficult operation, and you're saying it will take some time. What are the difficulties though that authorities are facing on the ground? We could see that earlier a big crane was actually sent to try and lift the concrete, and even that wasn't able to do it because there's just this huge debris that's lying there. It's a very congested area as well. What are the difficulties that your forces are facing?
Absolutely. Right now you said it about the congested area. That's one of the big problems. Because of the crowded locality, the people are there, the bystanders are there, they are just watching, and then you have the crowd management, you have the traffic management problem, and apart from that, the heavy machinery, the crane or for example any other machinery cannot come into that area. So the rubble clearance is going to be a big problem, and until unless we clear the rubble or debris, we perhaps cannot very wholeheartedly go for the search operations, because the entire operation is dependent on 2 factors: how beautifully, how professionally you conduct the searches, and how effectively you try to pull out people alive. As I said it, that 3 dead bodies have already been recovered, but I suspect that few people are still trapped inside. I can't tell you the exact number, but we suspect that the way the accident has taken place or the crisis has developed, we suspect that some people might be trapped inside. So we'll have to just go locate them inside the rubble, and we'll have to make entry for our own for our own interest. So these are some of the challenges we may face in the night. And then on top of it, we have the lighting problem. If the electricity is there, but we are carrying our own power backup. So we'll continue the operations throughout the night.
That's very important. So you're saying that the operation will not stop because at night it is going to go on for as long as it takes.
Absolutely, this is going to go on.
So do you fear that the number of casualties could go up dramatically? There is a fear about that because, as you say, even you can't estimate how many people could be trapped under this rubble. We don't know. So is there a fear that we could really see a large number of casualties at the end of this?
I can't say exactly about the number of casualties, but certainly this may go up. But I'm not very certain about it. Unless we go for the entire search operation, I cannot say very authoritatively about the number of casualties. So far 15 or 16 have died, and we are in constant touch with the state administration. So I think the suspected people could be, the first priority is to take them out alive. So I can't talk very authoritatively about the number of casualties.
And if you could give us a sense, sir, of just how your forces are, are managing to do this. You were mentioning in the beginning the use of sniffer dogs and sensors. What is the kind of equipment you're using, in order to be able to do this?
Look, these days the responses are going to be very technological. We carry all specialized equipment like hydraulic jacks.
All right, sir, my apologies. I'm afraid we have a problem with your audio there. We're going to try and fix it. My sincere apologies for that. I just want to ask, we have Mr. O.P. Singh back with us, and on the point that General Malik raised about the lack of disaster management. One is of course the prevention and what we're all talking about, which is very important, but it's also our responses to tragedies like this, sir. And do you agree with what General Malik is saying, which is that even after all these years, we still really haven't put effective mechanisms in place to deal with these situations? You know, we shouldn't have to be calling the NDRF and the army for a flyover collapse, but that's what's happening.
Absolutely, I agree with him. Actually, we have a law since 2005, and since then we have achieved so much. We have made significant progress. But we have to strengthen our local capacity. We have to strengthen our national response capabilities as well. And the institutional mechanism has to be in place all over, at the district level, at the state level, even at the national level. We have at the national level National Disaster Management Authority headed by our Honorable Prime Minister. Then we have National Disaster Response Force. We have National Institute of Disaster Management. But at the state level, we need to increase and strengthen our national response capability. And at the district level, we need to have disaster response teams. We need to build up our capacity building. We need to strengthen local preparations also. Unless we go for prevention, mitigation, preparedness and response, perhaps we will be in such a position that we'll have to call army or call NDRF very frequently. I do agree with him that national capacity and the state capacity has to increase.
General Malik, would you say that part of the problem also is, multiple agencies right now, but none able to really deal with the situation effectively, which is why we keep running back to the army in pretty much every crisis situation, whether it's a flood or a flyover collapse?
That is right. You are right, Nidhi. But you know, it's not only a question of accountability, culpability and all that. Those are very important issues. Those are very important points. But today what I am referring to is that in urban areas where there is such a large density of population and buildings coming up, we do not have any mechanism at all from the state side to deal with such tragedies. A few years ago, if you recall, we had a hospital which got burnt and so many people died within the hospital. That was in Calcutta. And these kind of things keep on happening, and I don't think the state governments are making adequate preparation to deal with such tragedies. Firstly, of course, there is a question of accountability and culpability, etc. But also they must have some mechanism, adequate resources to deal with such events when they take place.
Yes, so Sudhir Vora, you actually wanted to reply to the comments that Prasanjit and Jayanto were making earlier, you know, about culpability and the point that they were making on Bengal specifically. Mr. Vora.
I don't think it's a West Bengal issue. Last year we had a collapse of an 8-story building in Munnambakkam or something outside Chennai, which came down, flattened out like a house of cards. That sort of thing has been happening all over the place, not in old cities but in new constructions. That was also a new construction. This flyover was a new construction. It's not in Jama Masjid or old cities or someplace. We don't have a mechanism in place to do things right. We still give our orders to people depending on whom they know and not what they know. I'm making a very strong statement. All this what you're talking about design, construction, bad company, culpability of companies, it's still completely rotten and corrupt. And this we are dealing with stuff where there are hundreds and thousands of crores of infrastructure going into either the city or national highways. By the way, I believe the National Highway Authority is still a little wee bit better. There are some standards being built up slowly in that. So you'll find that those products I'm saying are slightly better. But what about the smaller things in the city? Because these are municipality issues and there has to be accountability. We have all the problems and all the collapses we've had till now. Have we heard of one report of why it went wrong? Who was held responsible? Nothing. The same company is then rehired, probably in the same avatar or different avatar, change the names and they go back. So you've got road contractors building airports. These are technical stuff. For God's sake, don't make this into a political issue. You need to strengthen your technical backbone, both for design and construction. And everything that goes on, these flyovers are meant to last hundreds of years.
Absolutely.
I mean, your steel bridge across in Delhi, which goes across from Delhi to Shadra, the old Lohaka bridge, what we say steel bridge, is 150 years old. What are we talking about? and trains and cars still go over that bridge. And that's iron. It's not even steel.
But you know,
We
you are
just
talking
haven't
about
started.
not politicizing it. And I just want to ask Jayanto on the Chief Minister's handling of this. And this is important. And you know, one reason why this has become such a big political issue is because you have elections, next week in Bengal. For her, she was the one who actually first said that this was commissioned under the, the left government.
Yeah.
So, that was her instinctive first reaction to this.
But that is
How do you think
politicizing.
she has handled it?
No,
Jayanto?
that's why what Mr. Vohra is saying, I am not disagreeing, because this is more academic and theoretically I agree. But when the political scenario, when I am seeing the Chief Minister is saying that CPM has started it, so now Chief Minister is also blaming CPM, that CPM has done it. So I don't want to make any statement that CPM has done it or Trinamool Congress has done it. Only one thing I am saying, that there should be a environment, which is more important for the development friendly milieu. Which state is the highest political violence in our country? That is West Bengal. The caste violence and the communal violence may be in UP and Bihar, but in West Bengal is the highest
That
political
doesn't affect
violence state.
flyovers,
Don't
sir.
you think that this political environment is also a catalytic factor for development projects, works? It's a highly connected, because who are the workers, trade unionism, labor, these are the issues also connected with all these fiascos. So actually it's not only for the, this may be a necessary condition, but not sufficient condition. That only I want to say.
Prasanjit, last quick comments.
Political violence has
I
nothing
really
to
don't
do
want to
with-
join issue with anyone. Everybody is making fair points. So it's a big tragedy, and there's no question of quarreling. My point is simple. Number one is that there is a general problem in the way infrastructure development is taking place in our country, and these systems needs to be fixed. Accountability needs to be fixed. If you are building such projects which cost a lot of money, they make a lot of profits out of that also. So you can't, if you do such a disaster, then you have to pay for it. And the penal provisions have to be so stringent that, that such tragedies should not happen. That is what we should aim for. But I would also maintain that there is a West Bengal specificity. If you look at infrastructure development in West Bengal, if you look at how much time it takes for infrastructure projects like flyovers, like metro railways, like roads, etc. to get built, because of the completely distorted political and economic processes in West Bengal today. I don't want to go beyond that in blaming this party, that party, but there is something rotten in the state of West Bengal. And the ordinary people, unsuspecting victims of today's tragedy, they are the ones who are paying the price for this. This entirely rotten system that is prevailing in the state.
Well,
right now.
I just wanted a last comment from Mr. O.P. Singh tonight, because it is the NDRF that is on the ground right now, along with the army and other personnel that are trying to rescue people. Sir, if you could give us once again the latest from your end, what you're hearing about the rescue operations, and are we looking at rescue work that could go on all night and throughout tomorrow?
Absolutely, that will go on till we clear the entire area. As I said it before, that my teams are there and they will be there till the last mile. We would like to search, we would like to search all the areas, we would like to go for the locating the victims there trapped inside, and we would like to pull them out alive if possible, and we would also extricate dead bodies if the rubble is cleared as early as possible. So the night operation would be on, and we will be there till the last mile.
So there was a concern that General Malik was expressing earlier about whether even the army in particular would have the kind of equipment that may be required in order to work in this particular area and for this rescue effort. Is there a concern you have as well, that your forces have as well, that you don't exactly have what is required to get through this debris?
No. NDRF has all the specialized equipments, and they are carrying with them all kinds of equipments which are needed for this particular juncture. We have, you try to compare this with earthquake. In earthquakes also you have the buildings collapsing. The same thing happened as instead of the building, you have the flyover collapsing here. So we have all the equipments which we call as CSSR equipments. We have the medical first responders team, they carry all the equipments like pre-hospital treatments and all. We have the structural engineers with us, we have the paramedic staff, we have the doctors, we have the nursing staff. So we are fully competent, we are fully capable of catering to the needs of the people there.
All right, sir, thank you very much for giving us an update on what is happening with the forces there. General Malik, Sudhir Vohra, Prasenjit Bose and Jayanta, thanks a lot for your views at this hour. In fact, I would just go